Now, two of the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's cousins are the subject of new sanctions that have been imposed by the US and the UK over links to drug trafficking. 4 Syrians and 2 Lebanese citizens were targeted over the manufacture and trafficking of the amphetamine Captagon. US officials say the trade is worth some $57 billion to Assad and has helped him turn the tide in the 13-year-old war in his country. To talk more about that, we're joined by the Syrian journalist and filmmaker Omar Al-Muqtad. Great to have you with us, Omar. What are your thoughts? Do you think these sanctions will do much to harm this astonishing revenue for the Assad family?
Well, thanks for having me back on, Laura. In fact, this is going to hurt the Syrian regime, of course, because these states has led to the party to act against the Syrian regime, let's say. You know, it is incredibly hard to manufacture and smuggle this amount of drug without the states having to know about it. So these shipments is linked directly to Bashar Assad, actually, not just his cousins. The guy is okay with it, and it's been a source of revenue to the Syrian regime to fund his war and his militia. So it is more measures must be taken here. The United States decided to link Bashar Assad to these shipments and to this drug thing in Syria, and decided to sanction. But this has to be more and more, especially more and more actions needs to be taken here, especially when you know that some of the Arab countries it's open the Syrian regime. That's going to help him out to ease some of these sanctions and give him a scapegoat or a way out to do more in this prospect.
Well, it does create something of a dilemma, doesn't it, for the leadership in countries like Jordan and the United Arab Emirates. As you pointed out, these countries are now embracing Bashar al-Assad. There's an acceptance in the region that he has won the war in his country. At the same time, those countries are really suffering with the Captagon that is really flooding across their borders.
Of course, he overwhelmed the Arabian Gulf and Europe and the entire region, in fact, by drugs and all sorts of narcotics, not just the drugs, for God's sake. So the guy has become a drug lord in the region. It's one of the main drug lords in the world. So this, in my opinion, this reckless behavior by just giving him a hand and is just going to do nothing but just to embolden this guy to go further with this and to send more drugs and more shipments to the world. You know, the Syrian regime now is in dire situation, is very desperate. So they would take that to the next level, in my opinion, if the world don't act soon against this drug cartel that's growing in Syria.
And the US and the UK both say in this report that Syria is essentially a drug trafficking state now. That is where most of its revenue is coming from. At the same time, the US keeps repeating that it wants Assad to be isolated. It doesn't want its allies doing business with Bashar al-Assad. And that strategy does appear to have failed, doesn't it?
Well, it won't work unless the United States make it clear to the rest of the regional powers that this guy can't be brought back to the international community that easy. We're talking here about crimes against the humanity, war crimes being committed, more than 14 million Syrians between mass displacements and refugees all over the world. It is crazy to just simply ignore all these facts, well-documented evidences, demonstrate that this guy has done horrible things in Syria, and then say, you know what, let's forget about it and let's start dealing with it because he's victorious. We all know that the whole situation in Syria right now, it's been disastrous as the Syrian regime keep holding the power and just turning his back to the international community to say, I'm here. If you want to deal with me, deal with me. If you don't, I'm just going to keep going with my plans. This is not going to help anybody in the region. And, you know, he will continue doing what he's doing right now.
Omar, thank you very much indeed. Great to talk to you. Omar Al-Muqtad there.